Hi everyone, I'm Jane Osley, EVP of Global Thought Leadership at Kantar, and I'm joined here today by Tony Costello, who is the Director Global CMI at Heineken. So thanks for joining us, Tony.
A pleasure to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about you and your role at Heineken. What is your job there?
Yeah, so I'm the global head of the consumer market insights function here at Heineken, with a small global team, but overseeing the function across all of our markets.
Fantastic. As you know, at Kantar, we recently released our Blueprint for Brand Growth, which is a guide for CMOs, and it's an evidence-based framework where we introduce a growth driver and 3 growth accelerators. And the growth driver is really the strategic pillar of our framework, and it is be meaningfully different to more people. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today, Tony. And through this framework, we can measure how well brands actually meet emotional and functional needs, how they stand out, how they lead the way against competitors, and come to mind readily to more people. So there's compelling reasons why being meaningfully different is important. So can you tell us a bit more about Heineken, the brand, and how you make it meaningfully different and how you maintain that?
Yeah, sure. So we've been working with Kantar on with the brand guidance system and looking at meaningful differentiation for a number of years now. And it's really helped us to understand exactly as you just said, how we can get growth on big brands. And a brand like Heineken is in a very different stage in different markets around the world. So in some cases, it's still at early stages of development in markets where it's still a relatively blank canvas, where it's all about building that meaningful differentiation for consumers, so they really understand what the brand is and why it's relevant for them. As we get into more mature markets, the challenge becomes more around how do we retain that and regrow and reinvigorate the brand, because the more widely known you are, the stronger your salience, you tend to find differentiation difficult to maintain.
Yeah, so let's give some examples to that, because it's really interesting what you're talking about, the variance by market. So how do you operationalize your meaningful difference? So I think you've got a couple of examples from Brazil and Vietnam. What happens in Brazil?
Yeah, Brazil's a really interesting market because we've seen that the Heineken brand has grown massively over the last 5 years or so, from initially being quite a small brand that had some awareness, but definitely not strong, meaningful differentiation. So a lot of focus was on a very consistent messaging, very heavy media spend to grow awareness and specific understanding of the brand. As it became much larger and share grew significantly, then we started beginning to shift a little bit towards, how do we now maintain that as we're becoming so much larger? So you see a slight shift in how we're reinvigorating the brand now, and still keeping that core, but beginning to expand a little bit to be more relevant to more people. So I think it's a great example. Yeah.
And is that through your communication strategy, distribution? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I think during those early stages, it's all about consistency, and we have a smaller set of range and set of SKUs. We're very clear on where the brand should be, which channels we should be in, etc. As it's got larger, then we expand, and innovation has become more important because we're already very well known, and to keep the brand fresh, then we need to have innovation on the proposition. And so yes, of course, the comms is slightly evolving as the brand has grown, but with that core red thread throughout. But what's changed is some of the innovation and other drivers that we can build in to make sure that we're continuing to be meaningfully different.
Yeah, so how you find new space is super important. And how about Vietnam? I think you've got a nice example from there as well.
I mean, I think Vietnam's maybe at a later stage. We've been big in Vietnam for a number of years, and the challenge there has been more, how do we continue to get growth on a brand that has very, especially in the premium segment, has very high market share, very high salience, so everybody knows it. How do you keep distinctive? And so, yes, we did some of the same things with innovation to make sure that we were bringing new propositions that could bring new people in, and be more relevant to new sets of consumers. But there's an interesting thing that we did as well was creating a Heineken experience, kind of copying what we'd done in Amsterdam, the home of Heineken. We had a similar concept and created a live experience for consumers to come to feel the brand and the brand story for themselves, which only tens of thousands of people go to a year. It's not obviously reaching the millions, but it does create a bit of buzz and something new about the brand, and keeps again that bit of differentiation versus the market. So to keep the high relevance for consumers.
Great. Our Brand Z data shows a general decline in the alcohol category and the brands in that fairly recently, but Heineken is thriving as one of the top 3 most valuable alcohol brands in our Kantar Brand Z study. And one of the reasons for that we've identified is showing great success, as you mentioned, in tying premiumization to the kind of brand narrative. So what routes have you explored on premiumization, and how that links to meaningful difference?
It's all started from exactly as you say. We've understood that if you're meaningfully different, then you can command a premium. And so then we've understood and tried to get underneath that and understood, well, what are the drivers of meaningful differentiation for us? And are there certain consumer groups that we're maybe not as strong on that we can work on? Because we know that if we lose that meaningful differentiation, we lose the ability to charge a premium. Consumers, we're not offering good value for the consumers for what we're for the premium price that Heineken is generally on sale for. And specifically, I think what some of the things that we've looked at are things like, a good example is sponsorship, and understanding how some of the different sponsorship assets that we have, is that resonating? Is that really meaningful for different groups of consumers? And we've slightly shifted our sponsorship strategy over the years to make sure that we're more relevant to more people in a distinctive way that Heineken can own. And a great example is how we lean forward with our sponsorship of the European Champions League football, soccer sponsorship, to make sure that we were also fully visible and with all of the women's tournaments as well. A bit ahead of when they're becoming really popular, but we understood that this is going to be more important to more people and could expand our relevance to a larger group of people. So just as an example.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tony.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.